to For the First Time in Forever, the show that aims to fill the gaps in all of our watch lists. Last week it was the final edition of Spooktober, and we took a look at one of the most iconic slasher films of all time, Scream. And you can check that video out by clicking the link in the description below. But this week, with Bonfire Night having just passed, I thought it was appropriate to don our best Guy Fawkes mask and overthrow the government. This is V for Vendetta. Wait a second. I am going to be talking about spoilers for this film, so consider this your warning now.
Now the brass.
I can hear it. Look outside, Mummy. They're playing music. How did you do that?
Wait, here comes the crescendo. How beautiful, is it not?
Remember, the 5th of November. Gunpowder, treason, and plot. I see no reason why gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. Those are the words that open V for Vendetta, a film that, unless you are crazily ignorant, is a shocking reflection of our current political climate. Even after 15 years since its release and 32 years after the debut of the graphic novel by Alan Moore, the sheer number of parallels it shares within our world today is deeply unsettling. The film is set in a dystopian, not-so-distant future where a new political party has taken control of Britain from the result of a civil war that plagued America, as well as a virus that had run rampant throughout Europe. The UK has been plunged into a police-run fascist state, curfews are in place, outspoken voices are being silenced, and the media is a puppet of the government itself. But Natalie Portman's character Evie, an employee of the main news network, encounters the enigma that is V, a vivacious and vicious vigilante seeking victory to overthrow and dismantle the government. Okay, look, talking about politics right now, as I'm filming this, America are currently in the midst of one of the most divisive elections their country has ever seen. Britain aren't exactly thrilled with their government at the moment. So yeah, talking about politics right now is a bit of a weird subject. The problem is that when discussing this film, you can't help but talk about the political elephant in the room. So I will touch on that later, but for the time being, I just want to get across my general thoughts of the film. Now, it's directed by James McTeague, with a screenplay by Lana and Lily Wachowski, the minds behind The Matrix, and there is undoubtedly a strong and comprehensive vision that attempts to strike a balance between action extravaganza and a deep and profound political commentary. Now, I will say that if you go into this film expecting thriller-minute action, you're not getting that. A lot of this film is intense, dialogue-heavy sequences as political ideals are discussed, criticised, and exposed. V is at the very heart of this. Hugo Weaving is excellent in this, having to do the tricky job of acting without ever seeing his face. Therefore, we feel the expression of his character through body language and the tone of his voice. Going into it, I thought V was going to be some kind of cold, calculated, intimidating presence. What I didn't expect was to see V and a Pinny cooking Natalie Portman breakfast in bed. But I suppose in a way that makes his character more humane. He isn't just this agent of chaos. He is, behind the mask, a person wanting to do what he thinks is best for the country. As for Natalie Portman, yes, it's a dodgy accent, and personally I'm not sure she's the best choice for that role. But regardless, her character is predominantly in the same position as the audience. Evie is almost recruited by V early on, initially taken aback by his violent approach to reshape the political landscape, but also warming to him and slowly but surely understanding his motivations. I think, however, they could have done more to flesh Evie out as a character. She very much feels like a personification of the audience, that we are going along this journey with her. I feel like there could have been more done to really expand her character, flesh it out even more, and give us something to kind of complement, but also find the flaws in V just that little bit more. Running almost in tandem alongside V and Evie's antics, there's a detective subplot following Stephen Rhee uncovering the mystery of V, whilst also at the same time growing suspicious of John Hurt's High Chancellor. I didn't find that aspect of the story as interesting, because it seemed to follow the motions of a typical detective exposing more than he bargained for type story. Also, it's shockingly obvious that this script was definitely not written by Brits and didn't have really much of a British influence in terms of the screenplay, because, look, we as British people don't just say words like bloody hell or bollocks. Believe me, we have a more extensive vocabulary than that, and there are a number of explosive moments both literally and metaphorically. Obviously, the moment when V destroys the Old Bailey to the 1812 Overture is one heck of a moment, but nothing quite compared to the finale. Firstly, V's fight with Creedy and his men contained copious amounts of badassery. I mean, he took a slew of bullets to the chest and still managed to spout the coolest lines of dialogue before squeezing the life out of Mr. Creedy.
Why won't you die? Beneath this mask, there is more than flesh. Beneath this mask, there is an idea, Mr. Creedy. And ideas are bulletproof.
And then, in arguably the most stunning set piece in the film, V succeeds in his plan. As Westminster Square is swarmed with his followers, his body is sent on the tube full of explosives, and well, they do it. They blow up Parliament. And it's certainly a sight to behold. But that is the point that V is trying to make. The government have forgotten what its purpose was always meant to be, and by blowing up the very heart of it, it allows Britain the opportunity to start again and start afresh. And if you were to hold a mirror to this film, you can't help but see the worrying reflections, sharing similarities of the political turmoil across the world. To give you a very, and I promise a very brief history lesson, Oliver Cromwell, when he created the first constitutional government, his goal, among many others, but one of his goals, was to ensure that Britain was led and governed by people chosen by the people, as opposed to the monarchs decided by birthright. And it was seen by many to be the next step towards a more civilized society. And from watching this film, seeing the discourse in America, here in the UK, and other places like Brazil, Belarus, and Nigeria, you can't help but feel like that purpose has been lost. Politicians seem to care very little about governing for the people, instead selecting what is best for themselves, their party, and their chance to be re-elected. Now, I know what many of you are going to be thinking. Luke, this has been the way for decades, and as idealistic as that may sound, it's just not realistic, and I agree with that. But a property like V for Vendetta shows how dangerous it can be when governments lose sight of their initial purpose. That being said, it also serves a strong testament that the people will always be stronger. Our voice will always strive to be heard. Okay, look, let's not blow up Parliament to get there, but change can come. Even if it looks hopeless, there is always the opportunity for change. Just remember what V said.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
V for Vendetta is a film that likely will never age in regards to its themes, ideologies, and political approach. From the perspective of an action thriller, its structure is a little bit wobbly, but it does have some outstanding moments crammed inside. Hugo Weaving is fantastic as V, who is such a fascinating character. But even though the film ends in explosion and destruction, part of you feels that change and the chance for a better and more optimistic future is possible, no matter how bleak the circumstances could be. So, after watching V for Vendetta for the first time in forever, I can safely say that it is worth it. Anyway guys, those are my thoughts on V for Vendetta. Please let me know what you thought of the film down in the comments below, as well as any other films on your watch list that you are yet to get round to seeing. And as I'm sure some of you are aware, we are very close to completing the road to 300. So if you are watching this video, you have enjoyed yourself, but you are not yet subscribed, please click that subscribe button, and I promise you, you won't regret it. Thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please make sure that you click that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All the links to my social media accounts, my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and my letterbox are all in the description below. And if you haven't liked the video, what are you still doing here?